Let me take you back to before everything fell apart. Before everything fell apart, I had what you'd call a pretty typical life in our modest three-bedroom house in the suburbs of Seattle, Washington. The rain was constant here in the Pacific Northwest, making everything feel a bit gloomy, but it was home. My dad drove trucks for a logistics company, often pulling long hauls that left him exhausted and the family scraping by. My mom worked retail at a local department store, handling customer complaints and stocking shelves to make ends meet. Together, their incomes kept us afloat, but there was never room for extras like vacations or new gadgets. As the reliable one in the family, I pitched in significantly. At 24, I was juggling classes in business at the community college 3 days a week and working 4 shifts at a fast food joint near campus. I'd hand over half my paycheck every month to help with the bills, groceries, and even the occasional repair on our old house. The other half went toward my tuition and a small emergency fund I was building. I dreamed of graduating debt-free and getting my own place someday, maybe starting a small online business. But for now, I was the steady contributor, the one who didn't complain. My brother Daniel, 2 years older at 26, was always the favorite, the golden child who could do no wrong. He bounced between odd jobs like stocking shelves at a warehouse or delivering food, but nothing stuck for more than a few months. Lately, he was obsessed with becoming a film streamer on YouTube, filming reviews that barely got 50 views. Our parents called it exploring his passions, while my consistency was just expected. If I mentioned cutting shifts to study more, I'd get lectures about family duties. But when Daniel quit his last gig to focus on videos, they praised his entrepreneurial drive. My room was my only real escape. It wasn't big, but I'd made it comfortable with my own money, a twin bed I'd saved for a desk for homework, and some shelves for books and notes. The walls had a calm blue paint I'd applied myself one weekend, and a small window overlooked the backyard, letting in what little sun we got through the clouds. Every item was earned from extra shifts or thrift finds. Socially, I kept it simple. My coworker, Dylan, 25, and studying graphic design, became a close friend. He lived in a shared apartment and was super independent, having moved out young after issues with his own family. During breaks at work, he'd listen as I vented about home. "You're giving them too much," he'd say, watching me calculate my contributions. "Family should support you, not drain you." I'd defend them. "They're family, we stick together." But his words lingered. My future plans were straightforward. Finish my degree, land a stable job in marketing, save for an apartment. I figured independence would come gradually without drama. But I didn't see the cracks. Daniel's instability was excused while my efforts were taken for granted. Our parents would brag to relatives about how responsible I was, but it felt like code for, "She does what we say." All that changed when Daniel met his girlfriend. He came home one night buzzing about a girl he'd met at a local bar. She was amazing, he said, and I had to meet her. I was happy for him. His past relationships fizzled fast because of his lack of direction. 2 weeks later, he brought Brooke home for dinner. At 20, she was younger, with striking features and a charming smile that won over my parents instantly. She hugged them, complimented the meal, and shared vague stories about a tough childhood, moving around a lot, never settling. My mom was hooked, seeing her as someone to help. With me, Brooke was polite but probing, asking about my classes, job, and even my savings habits. It felt off, like she was sizing me up, but I brushed it aside. Over the next weeks, Brooke became a regular. She lived in a crappy shared place with roommates she called difficult, so she preferred our house. My parents welcomed her, flattered by her attention. Soon she was using my stuff, my shampoo in the bathroom, my laptop left open. When I mentioned it to Daniel, he called me selfish. "She doesn't have much, can't you share?" I backed down to avoid fights. but resentment built. It wasn't the items, it was the entitlement. One evening after a long shift, I found my car keys missing. Brooke had taken it for a quick errand without asking. When she returned, the tank was empty and she shrugged it off. That was the tipping point. I confided in Dylan at work the next day, and he urged me to start noting things down. "Document it just in case," he said. I began keeping a private journal on my phone listing the intrusions. Little did I know how useful it would become as things escalated. About 3 months after my brother Daniel started dating his girlfriend Brooke, they called a family meeting one rainy Sunday evening. I'd just gotten back from an 8-hour shift at the fast food joint, my feet sore, and my mind on an upcoming marketing exam. We gathered in our cramped living room, my dad on the recliner, my mom on the couch, me in a folding chair, and Daniel with Brooke on the love seat, their hands locked together. The air felt heavy, like something big was coming. Daniel looked nervous but excited, while Brooke had a smug little smile that made my stomach twist. "We've got news," Daniel said, glancing at Brooke. "Brooke's pregnant. We're having a baby." My parents froze for a moment, their faces unreadable. My heart sank. Daniel had always said he wasn't ready for kids, not with his unstable jobs and no real savings. 3 months seemed way too fast. My dad spoke first, his voice gruff. "You sure about this?" Brooke nodded, her hand resting on her flat stomach. 10 weeks. We've seen the doctor." My mom's shock turned to cautious excitement. "A grandchild," she said, eyes misty. "I'm gonna be a grandma." The conversation shifted to logistics, how they'd support a baby healthcare living arrangements. Brooke had answers ready. She'd paused her community college classes, but would finish later. She worked part-time as a cashier, but might cut hours soon. Then Daniel cleared his throat. "We were thinking we could stay here for a while, at least until the baby's born and we're settled." My parents exchanged looks. "Of course," my mom said without hesitation. "This is your home, Daniel, and Brooke's too." I sat there quiet, watching Brooke's eyes dart around, calculating. Something felt off, but I couldn't pin it down. That night my parents called another meeting, just the 4 of us. I sensed trouble as I walked in, still in my work uniform. My dad started, his tone serious. "We need to talk about space. With a baby coming, we've got to make adjustments." I nodded, thinking maybe they'd clear out the attic or move Daniel's old gym equipment. But then my mom dropped the bomb. "Brooke needs your room, Jessica. It's the only one big enough for her and the baby's stuff." My jaw tightened. "My room," I said, voice steady despite the shock. "Where am I supposed to go?" "The storehouse." My dad said like it was no big deal. "We'll fix it up, some insulation, a heater. It'll be like your own space." The storehouse was a dank, cluttered shed behind the house, stuffed with old furniture and tools, always damp from Seattle's endless rain. It wasn't a bedroom, it was barely livable. "That's not fair," I said, my voice rising. "I pay for half the bills here. I bought everything in my room, my bed, my desk, all of it." My mom's tone was firm but calm. "Brooke's in a delicate condition. She needs comfort right now." My dad added, "Families make sacrifices, Jessica. Your brother's about to be a dad. His needs come first." I looked at Daniel, hoping he'd speak up. He just stared at the floor, silent, while Brooke's smile grew sweeter. "I'd be so grateful, Jessica," she said, her voice dripping with fake sincerity. Nobody suggested Brooke take the storehouse or that they find their own place. It was clear I was expected to give in like always. "This is wrong," I said quietly, but my dad cut me off. "It's decided. Brooke moves into your room by next week. We'll help you set up the storehouse." I stood too angry to stay and walked out, hearing Brooke's voice behind me. "Thanks, Jessica, you're the best sister." The next day I started moving my stuff. The storehouse was worse than I'd imagined, moldy walls, a concrete floor that stayed wet, and a single flickering bulb for light. My parents tossed in a cheap rug and a space heater, calling it cozy. My bed and desk stayed in my old room for Brooke's comfort. Within days, she'd painted my blue walls a garish yellow and rearranged everything. My books were shoved into boxes replaced with her makeup and baby magazines. New house rules popped up: no loud noises after 8 p.m. because Brooke needed rest, and the hallway bathroom was now hers due to morning sickness. I had to trek outside in the rain to use my parents' bathroom even at night. I started documenting everything on my phone: photos of my stuff being used, notes about the new rules, even recordings of Brooke's snide comments when she thought I wasn't listening. Mrs. Lopez, our neighbor in her 60s, saw Brooke wearing my jacket one day and gave me a knowing look from her porch. She didn't say anything, but I could tell she was watching. Dylan, my coworker, kept pushing me to keep track. "You're not crazy," he said during a break. "This isn't right. Keep evidence." His support made me feel less alone. Then one night, as I was studying in the storehouse, I overheard Brooke and Daniel talking through the thin wall to the kitchen. Her voice was low, sharp. "Jessica's in the way," she said. "She's always around stressing me out. The baby needs a calm environment." Daniel hesitated. "What can we do? She lives here." Brooke's tone turned colder. "Talk to your parents. She's an adult, she can move out." My heart pounded. They were plotting to push me out completely. That moment I knew I had to protect myself, and fast. Life in the storehouse was miserable, but it got worse as Brooke's grip on the house tightened. About a month after I moved in, I noticed more of my things going missing or damaged. One day I found my favorite sweater, a soft gray one I'd bought after saving for weeks, stretched out and stained on the couch where Brooke had left it. When I asked her about it, she rolled her eyes. "It's just a sweater, Jessica. Don't be so petty." Daniel backed her up, saying, "You've got plenty of clothes. Chill." My blood boiled, but I kept quiet, jotting it down in my phone's journal. I wasn't going to let this slide. Then it escalated. I'd saved for months to buy a new phone, $800 for a model fast enough for my schoolwork and apps. I kept it in the storehouse for safety, away from Brooke's reach. One afternoon after a short shift, I came back to find my phone case empty. My heart raced as I confronted Brooke, who was lounging in my old room. "Where's my phone?" I asked, trying to stay calm. She shrugged, avoiding my eyes. "Oh, that old thing, I thought you replaced it." I pressed harder. It was brand new. "Where is it?" After a tense pause, she admitted I sold it. We needed money for my business idea, a fashion startup. Daniel's on board. I was stunned. "You sold my phone without asking. That's $800. She waved me off. "It's an investment, Jessica. You'll get it back when we make it big." Daniel chimed in. "It's for the baby's future. Don't make this about you." The casual dismissal of my hard-earned money felt like a slap. I stormed back to the storehouse, adding this to my growing list of evidence, photos, notes, and recordings of Brooke's snarky comments about me. That's when I found something damning. While organizing my notes, I checked my phone's backup and saw texts forwarded from a guy named Chase, Brooke's ex-boyfriend, who'd messaged me by mistake months ago. The texts mentioned a plan to secure a place and fake it till it works. I dug deeper and found a receipt in Brooke's purse left carelessly in the kitchen for a fake pregnancy test kit. My suspicions clicked into place. Brooke wasn't pregnant. She was scamming us. I recorded the receipt and text, saving them securely. I didn't confront her alone. 2 weeks later, my parents called another family meeting. Mrs. Lopez, our neighbor, was outside watering her plants close enough to overhear. In the living room, Brooke sat smugly next to Daniel, who looked stressed. My dad started, "We need to discuss household contributions." Before I could speak, Brooke cut in. "Jessica's stressing me out, always hovering, watching me. It's bad for the baby. Daniel nodded. My child is more important than you, Jessica. You need to back off. Brooke smiled, her eyes cold. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding, and said, Are you sure that's your child? The room went silent. My parents froze. Daniel's face paled. I pulled out my phone, showing the receipt and texts. Brooke's been lying. There's no baby. My mom gasped, but my dad shook his head. This is ridiculous, Jessica. You're making things up to cause trouble. Daniel snapped. Why are you attacking her? She's pregnant, Brooke played, innocent tears welling up. I'd never lie about this. My evidence was dismissed, and I felt the walls closing in. Mrs. Lopez, still outside, caught my eye through the window, nodding slightly. She'd heard it all. Back in the storehouse, I confided in Dylan at work the next day. They didn't believe me, I said, frustration choking my voice. He leaned forward. Keep digging. Get more proof. You're not wrong. His encouragement kept me focused. That night I messaged Chase Brooks' ex using an old number from the texts. I asked if he knew about her plan. His reply came fast. She's done this before, faked a pregnancy to mooch off a guy's family. She's desperate for cash. My hands shook as I recorded his message. This was the leverage I needed. Brooke wasn't just taking my stuff, she was playing us all. I knew then I couldn't stay in a house that valued her lies over my truth. It was time to plan my exit, and I'd make sure they'd feel the weight of my absence. Chase's message was the final push I needed. Knowing Brooke was faking her pregnancy to scam my family lit a fire in me. I wasn't just going to stay and take it, I was done being the doormat. That night, lying on the lumpy mattress in the damp storehouse, I decided to disappear, not just to escape, but to make them face the consequences of choosing her over me. I'd leave on my terms, and they'd feel the void I'd been filling for years. I started planning the next morning, moving carefully so no one would suspect. First, I needed to secure my finances. I went to a bank branch across town, one my family never used, and opened a new account in my name only. I transferred most of my savings, $2,000 I'd scraped together from extra shifts, leaving just enough in the joint account to avoid raising red flags. I set up electronic statements to keep my address private. Next, I talked to my manager at the fast food joint. He'd always appreciated my work ethic and agreed to transfer me to another location 30 minutes away in Tacoma. It came with a small raise enough to cover a longer bus commute. I didn't tell him everything, just enough about family issues to explain the move. Moving my stuff was trickier. I couldn't pack boxes without tipping off my parents or Daniel. Instead, I took things, slowly slipping clothes, books, and important documents into my backpack each day before work or class. Dylan, my coworker, was a lifesaver. During a break, I told him about Chase's message and my plan. You're doing the right thing, he said, handing me a coffee. Need help finding a place. He connected me with a friend who just vacated a studio apartment in Tacoma, small but affordable with a secure entry and big windows. I applied using Dylan's address for mail, ensuring my family wouldn't intercept anything. The deposit ate up my emergency fund, but it was worth it for freedom. I kept documenting everything, recordings of Brooke's snide remarks, photos of my room's transformation, even a note about the phone she'd sold. Mrs. Lopez, the neighbor, caught me one day as I was sneaking a bag of clothes out. You okay, Jessica? She asked, her eyes sharp. I nodded, but didn't elaborate. She'd already seen enough to know something was wrong. Her quiet observation gave me confidence my evidence wasn't just in my head. The revenge part came together organically. I messaged Chase again, confirming Brooke's scheme. She's using your family for a free ride, he wrote back. She tried it with me last year. I asked him to keep quiet, but stay ready to back me up if needed. Then I did something bold. I reported the phone incident to the police. I didn't press charges, just filed a report about my property being taken without permission, giving them Brooke's name and the details. It wasn't about jail. It was about planting a seed. I saved a copy of the report on my new phone, along with the texts and receipts proving Brooke's fake pregnancy. Over 3 weeks, I erased my presence bit by bit. I'd leave for class early, drop items at Dylan's place, and return late to avoid suspicion. I maintained a facade at home, eating quick meals in the kitchen, nodding at Daniel's updates about his streaming career, and even smiling when Brooke bragged about her fashion startup. It was exhausting, but I stayed focused. Dylan helped with practical tips like how to change my phone number without linking it to the family plan. "You've got this," he said one night as we closed the restaurant. "They'll regret underestimating you." The final day came on a Tuesday, when I knew everyone would be out, my dad on a long haul, my mom at the store, Daniel and Brooke at a business meeting for her fake startup. I packed the last of my things, mostly sentimental items like my grandmother's old necklace. Standing in the nearly empty storehouse, I felt a mix of anger and relief. I left a single note on the mattress. "Don't try to find me. You've got what you wanted." Before walking out, I emailed an anonymous tip to my parents from a burner account, attaching the pregnancy test receipt Chase's texts and a recording of Brooke's voice plotting to push me out. I didn't sign it, just let the truth speak. As I boarded the bus to Tacoma, my new phone buzzed with a text from Dylan. "You're free now." Hours later, I got a call from an unknown number, a police officer following up on my report. They'd contacted my family asking about the phone. My parents sounded panicked, the officer said, but I kept my answers vague, confirming only that I was safe and had left voluntarily. The seed was planted. Brooke's lies were unraveling, and I was already gone, ready to watch their world shift without me. The police call was just the beginning. My family tried to find me, but I'd covered my tracks too well. My mom called my old number over and over, not knowing I'd switched to a new one. My dad drove to my old fast food joint, only to hear I'd transferred to another location. They even checked the community college, asking around the library where I used to study. Nobody had answers. I'd told Dylan not to say a word, and Mrs. Lopez, who'd seen enough to know the score, just shook her head when they knocked on her door. The police, after my brief call confirming I was safe and gone by choice, told them there was nothing they could do. I was 24, an adult who'd walked away. About 2 weeks after I left, the truth about Brooke came crashing down. My anonymous email, those texts from Chase, the fake pregnancy test receipt, and Brooke's recorded voice plotting to push me out hit like a bomb. My mom confronted Brooke, demanding answers. Brooke tried to play it off, but Daniel found a fake silicone belly stuffed in her bag, along with a receipt for pregnancy symptom pills. She wasn't pregnant, never had been. It was all a scam to mooch off our family's generosity. When the lie unraveled, Brooke bolted, taking my mom's heirloom earrings and my dad's prized golf clubs with her. Mrs. Lopez later told Dylan she saw Brooke leave in a hurry, tossing a bag into a beat-up car. The fallout was brutal. Daniel spiraled into depression, humiliated by Brooke's betrayal and his own gullibility. His streaming dreams tanked, and he lost his part-time delivery job after missing too many shifts. My parents' marriage, already strained by money worries, cracked further. My dad's long hauls got cut back due to health issues, high blood pressure from the stress, and the bills piled up. My mom started picking up extra shifts at the store, but they fought constantly, blaming each other for trusting Brooke and driving me away. One night their argument spilled into the front yard, loud enough for Mrs. Lopez to overhear. She told Dylan they were on the brink of divorce. Chase, Brooke's ex, showed up a month later, confirming to Daniel how she'd pulled the same scam on his family. It was the final nail in the coffin for my brother's trust. I heard all this through posts I saw on social media using a private account they couldn't trace. Daniel posted vague apologies online, hinting at family mistakes, but I didn't respond. My mom left voicemails on a friend's number she thought I might use, begging me to come back. I deleted them without replying. My dad tried emailing the college, but I'd set up a new address. I blocked every attempt at contact, determined to keep them out of my new life. They'd made their choice prioritizing Brooke's lies over me, and I wasn't going back to a family that saw me as disposable. My new life in Tacoma was simple, but mine. The studio apartment was small with a futon, a thrift store table, and a few plants I'd bought to brighten it up. I worked my new shifts, got promoted to shift lead, and aced my online business classes. For the first time, I could cook what I wanted, play music without headphones, and live without tiptoeing around someone else's demands. The freedom felt like a weight lifted off my chest. I made new friends through work, joined a local book club, and started saving again, not for a family that didn't value me, but for my own future. 6 months after I left, I drove past our old house one rainy evening, parking across the street. The storehouse was back to being a cluttered shed, no trace of my time there. My old bedroom window had plain curtains now, not Brooke's garish yellow or my calm blue. The house looked smaller, less heavy in my memory. I didn't feel anger anymore, just clarity. I'd learned a hard lesson: my worth isn't tied to what I do for others. Family should lift you up, not push you into a corner. If you see signs of unfair treatment, favoritism, dismissal of your needs, don't wait for it to break you. Act early, set boundaries, or walk away. Self-respect is worth more than any toxic tie, even blood. Thanks for listening to my story. It's been a journey, and I'm grateful you're here. Subscribe and drop a comment with your own experiences. I'd love to know how you've stood up for yourself. Your value doesn't depend on anyone else's ability to see it. My name is Jessica, and I'm 24 years old. Standing outside my childhood home in suburban Seattle, I stare through the window at what used to be my bedroom. 3 months ago, my family forced me into the storehouse, a damp, rainy mess of a space, so my brother's pregnant girlfriend could take my room. They figured I'd just roll over and accept it like always. But tonight, as I slide this letter under the door, I'm vanishing from their lives for good, and then they'll see what they've really lost. It all exploded in that family meeting. My family forced me into the garage so my brother's pregnant girlfriend could have my room. My brother said, "My child is more important than you." His girlfriend just looked at me and smiled. I just said one sentence: "Are you sure that's your child?" The whole room went silent. Before I dive into how it all went down, I want to know what time you're listening and what city you're in. I'm thrilled to see how far my story reaches.